All right, now we're opening up our Vectornator, and we want to start a new document. So I'm going to go down to the A row like we did last time. I'm going to choose the letter 8.5 by 11, and this time, since our focus is on space, I'm going to title this last name and space, because that's going to be our ultimate goal when we're done. Then I'm going to open that document up. All right, we're going to set this up with a background that has a table or a floor and a wall. So we're going to be drawing a rectangle that's going to represent your wall and a rectangle that's going to represent your table space. So I'm going to open up and my colors, and make sure your gradient button is turned on now. For the previous lesson we had it turned off, but this time we're going to need it turned on. And I'm going to choose a color here. Let's go with something in the green family. And when I have this selected, you'll notice that over here on the left hand little slider, it's outlined in green. It has white inside. If I click on the left one, I'm going to make sure that you select the black color there. You can tap on the ultimate black, and black will pop in here as your dark end. All right, so we're going to have a green rectangle that's going to go from very light to very dark. And notice down here on the left, you have two options. One is for a radial pattern, and one is for a linear one. We want the linear one on the left. All right, back to my picture. I'm going to now drag and make my rectangle. All right, and see how it's fading from the left to the right there, from green to the super dark green. Now I can come back in here and I can push the light a little bit further. Notice how it's getting a little bit light longer, okay, where it's only dark for just a little bit. So that kind of gives a little bit of a change to it, so it's got a brighter side. I'm going to do the same thing for the upper area here. Oops, something's set for blur. Hold on a second, let me hop back over here to my shape. Hop back to my selection tool, select my object. Aha. In the color panel, make sure that the blur is not selected. For some reason, my little blur guy was set on something. We want that to be a nice solid rectangle for us. All right, rectangle number 2 is going to represent our back wall. So I'm going to choose a different color for my back wall, maybe something in an orange or brown family, something neutral here. So I'm choosing a lighter kind of orange. I am going to leave my slider pretty bright here like I did in the last one. Instead of going to solid black, which seems really dark on the orange, I'm going to choose to select that little slider, and I want to choose an orange that's more of a dark brown. There we go, more of a dark brown than a pure black. All right, now I'm going to draw him and slide him over. Okay, so I have my lights to my darks going on with my wall and with my background. All right, so like we did last time, I'm going to come up to my layers panel and lock that. All right, so we don't destroy it, move it around on accident, and create yourself, hit the little plus sign and create yourself a new layer. All right. So this tutorial is about finding out how to draw yourself a sphere and a cube with realistic looking values to make them look rounded. All right, so a sphere is going to start with a circle. So I'm going to start with a circle. So use the ellipse tool, and I'm going to just choose a solid color at the moment. I'm going to choose something really bright and obnoxious like a red here. Find myself a good red up there. All right, so I'm going for a bright red, and I'm turning off the gradient for the moment. Okay, so I just want a red solid color. All right, so here I go. I'm going to draw myself a pretty good size rounded guy here. Make sure he looks sort of like a nice circle, and let go. All right, so there is our basic sphere. Now, if the light is coming from, I'm going to draw a little star up here to show us where our little light would be coming from. Bink, 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 bink. Ding, ding, ding. So here's my little star, says, ah, that's where my light's coming from. All right. So the light's coming from up here in the star. So that means somewhere at the top left of this sphere is going to be a little bit brighter. And as we start to go down toward the bottom of the table, it's going to get a little bit darker. So we need to set up a feeling of a value change, or what we call in graphics a gradient, so that my red goes from light to dark. So I'm going to use this red color, but I'm going to turn my gradient on. So here's my red color. All right. And then I'm going to use a dark sort of red. Let's see, let me get a dark maroon kind of a color going on. Let me get one a little bit darker. There we go. So I'm going from something bright to something dark on this guy. Now I'm going to make these swap a little bit. All right. And this time, since our sphere is rounded, we want to choose the radial option. Okay, we want that roundness of the value to happen on our sphere. Look at that. All right, so we have this radial feel. Now what we need to do is grab this little orange dot and move it up towards the star, because that's where the bright area is happening, up by the star. I'm going to move the other, oh, come back to me, little orange guy. My other little orange guy, come on. I can't get a hold of him. Come on, buddy. Oh, he's not moving for me. There we go. Get my other little orange guy to move down a little bit to the bottom. So your lining of value goes in a diagonal. It follows sort of the position of the star. Okay. Now I think that my gradient is getting dark too fast. So I'm going to come back to my color palette and I'm going to inch more red in and have a little less of the dark. Okay, so I'm going to pull the dark down. There we go. And notice how it did that on my sphere. Okay, it inched it back. All right, now I want this brightest of bright lights to be happening right here on my sphere. So we need this bright highlight shine that this star is putting right on that spot of my sphere. Now to do that, I need to create another little ellipse. Only this ellipse is going to be a brighter, whiter color. So I'm going to come down here to gradient, turn on gradient, and now I need to click white. Looky there. Got my bright white and I got my red color. Okay. I want the white to be nice and bright. Okay. So I'm going to draw myself a little oval. Still in that gradient pattern, okay, that radial gradient. I need to turn this little guy so he's on an angle, okay. So I'm tilted him around a little bit. I'm going to bring him up here. And now I'm going back to my gradient fill because I need it to go the other direction. I need it to be red on the outside and white, or more white on the inside here. So I'm flipping the position of these guys. Okay, let's see what's happening there. Now the white's on the inside and the red's on the outside. Now, one more step. I want you to move the blur button in a little bit because we want to make the outer edge of your oval or ellipse to fuzz or blur into your sphere. So it all looks nicely blended. So the blur button kind of blends and fuzzes the edges of your actual shape. So now we have this gleam, this bright highlight on your sphere, and we have the darkness of the bottom of your sphere to the far right. Well, now if the light is shining up here from the star on the top of your sphere, it's going to create a shadow on the table space. Well, the shadow is going to be an oval too. So I'm going to come back and click my ellipse tool. I'm going to click on my colors. And my table color was sort of a greenish color, right? So I'm going to choose some black. Let's click down here on my gradients. I'm going to click black for my end one here. Let's play around with a dark green color. Let's see, let's go to black, dark green maybe to black. We'll play around here and see what happens. Okay, we might have to change our colors, but this is kind of experimenting. The closer you are to your object, the darker the shadow is going to be. So let's draw I'm going to draw myself an oval here. Now right now my oval is currently still set for radial. I need to go back to my linear option, okay, because the table is flat, it's not rounded or in a shape of a circle, so we need it to be a line, so I need it linear. All right, and let's click on a little bit of blur because we want this to fuzz into the table here. All right, and we have a problem. It's an oval shadow that is currently in front of our sphere. We need that to be arranged to the back, right? Like we do arranging on our Illustrator. So let's go up to the Arrange button. Arrange, there we go. And we need to send that to the back. Looky there, okay? Now it made it look like it's very hard, but once we kind of release everything here, it goes back to being fuzzy. So cool, we got ourselves a little shadow that's on the table. It's very dark underneath and it sort of fuzzes out a little bit toward the end. You can even click on, let's see, down here where it says shadow and opacity. I can even lessen the opacity so that we have some see-through quality to our shadow. And again, once you select off of it, it's even a little bit lighter. You can still move it. I think we might move it. Oh, he just hopped a whole bunch. Why do you hop? Hold on, go back. Come on, buddy. There we go. I was just going to try and move him over to the left just a little bit. Okay. There we go. So we have ourselves, I'm going to get rid of my little star here because he was just our little helper to know where our light is at. We now have a wonderful sphere with a nice gradient, a highlight, and we have our shadow. So I'm going to use the selection tool and I'm going to drag a marquee around all of those. All right, and let's see, we need to group those guys together. So in case you want to move them, which you're going to need to do based on this project, you can shrink these guys, you can move them around, you can edit and copy or duplicate, and bloop, there's a second one, okay? So you'll be able to alter and do things to these now that they're grouped together, all right? That's all for this video. I'm going to come back and show you how to work with the cube next.